word cinematic in conversation, you might imagine the last movie that you saw in the theaters. But if you use it in YouTube, a lot of the time cinematic means slow motion on a gimbal. I shoot a lot of slow motion on a gimbal. It's a very effective technique, but there is more to it than that. Some of these things took me a while to learn, and I'm gonna share with you some of the more detailed tips and tricks that I think can make your footage look more like the movies. We're here at our favorite ski resort. This is Sunshine Village in Alberta. Anya has a great outfit on. Let's go make a movie.
I always tell everybody that it's so important to find things that you love to do in the winter. It makes it so much more bearable.
I'm gonna be shooting a lot of this on my iPhone and using a tool from this video's sponsor, Polar Pro, and their new light chaser system. Not only does it make your iPhone look a lot more badass, but it gives you a sturdy grip to hold onto it here, as well as a lens filter mount. So right now I've got a variable ND on it, and we'll talk about why I would do that in a minute. One of the most challenging parts about photography or filmmaking is composition. It takes years to learn, and you're not gonna learn it all in this quick video. So instead, I'll just give you a few quick shortcuts. These are some shots we use all the time and are easy to make look good. First of all, using the rule of thirds, put your subject either on the right, middle, or left of the frame. Have them generally filling from top to bottom, but not leaving a lot of extra space unless you decide to. There is also wider shots that can work, but only do it intentionally. Don't find yourself with an accidental whole bunch of ceiling or floor that's not doing anything for the video. Along with that, make sure to get lots of variety. If you end up just shooting everything basically the same, it gets boring pretty quickly. So look for little details, close-ups. When we walk into a scene, we generally try to make sure that there is a wide, medium, and close-up of every shot so that when we cut it together, we have all that variety. Starting by looking at the mountains, and then you look where you're gonna go and put your goggles down. Great. If you spend any time in online forums, you've probably seen people debating about what frame rate you should shoot at. I'm here to tell you, it's 24 frames per second. This isn't an argument. I know some people have other opinions, but they are incorrect. If you want to look like the movies, you're going to present your video in 24 frames per second. If you want to shoot the news or possibly a YouTube video, okay, you can do 30, that's okay. 60 is only for slow motion. 24 is the only cinematic frame rate. Every movie, except for The Hobbit, every other movie is shot in 24 frames per second. If you're using the default camera app, Apple's made this incredibly easy. You just tap up here in the corner to change the frame rate. So I was really excited when iPhones added the ability to shoot 24 frames per second, but there was one big thing missing from that. You still couldn't get the appropriate motion blur. So even though your frame rate was correct, it did not look like the movies. The way we always demonstrate this is you move your hand in front of your face really quick and you see motion blur. That's the way reality looks. When you use a phone, typically every single frame is perfectly sharp. And that's fine for regular use, but if you want to step things up and make it feel a little more like the movies, you want to get that natural motion blur in there. Now let's get the light chaser involved. This is a variable ND, so it cuts down the amount of light coming into the lens. Why would you ever want to do that? I mean, usually we're adding as many lights as possible. By making it darker in this super sunny day, we can have a slower shutter speed. To get that natural motion blur, you want to shoot at double your frame rate. So we're shooting at 24 frames per second. We want about a 48th of a second shutter speed. To do that, we're going to use the app Filmic Pro. It lets us override all of our settings, control it manually like a real camera. Filmic Pro does cost a couple bucks, but you could use any free app out there that will allow you to manually set all of your camera exposure. Whichever app you use, having full control of what your camera is doing is an essential part of getting better at filmmaking or photography or any of it. So just go find an app that works for you. You're going to learn a lot really quickly. A few more little things that I really like about the light chaser. The best part right now skiing is this giant grip. It basically just clips on and off, and then also gives you quarter 20 mounts, which are standard tripod mounts, so that you can attach it to whatever you want. I've never felt like I have such a firm grip on my iPhone. Thanks to Polar Pro for sponsoring this video. Check out the links in the description below. Something you probably noticed but didn't realize you noticed is that in movies, the white part of the image never clips, meaning it never gets to or past 100% brightness. It is always a little bit darker than that. So that means even if you have a really bright image, the brightest part shouldn't be as white as the background of a website. It shouldn't be pure white. Always bring it down a little bit. Generally, video is still a little bit darker than photos are, but even photos, the white shouldn't clip. It should be just a little bit below 100%, and then video, it can come down another notch below that. When we're moving our camera, let's do it very intentionally. Now, if you think back to 20 years ago, there used to be these travel videos where the whole video would just be a camera on a tripod panning and panning back and forth. And whenever I see people panning, I think of that. I don't know if you've seen what I'm talking about, but I'd recommend don't just pan to show the landscape, follow the action. So if somebody is doing something, it's a great excuse for the camera to be picked up and move with them. And you'll notice that a lot of my motions are either left to right or backwards and forwards. I don't do a lot of side to side. I don't know, it just feels a little more contemporary, unless you're fully handheld, like walking around. But a great way to learn is to watch movies that you love and just pay closer attention to how is the camera actually moving through the scene and try to replicate that either with your hands or with a gimbal. By the way, you may notice I'm not using a gimbal for these ski videos. The internal stabilization of phones is pretty great now, but gimbals are best when you're either walking or running. There's like a lot of movement over a great distance. That's when they really come in handy. But often small handheld stuff like this, it works really well. All right, well, that was a good day of skiing. Anya, how many runs do you think we got in?
3 runs.
My app says 6. So here's a ski tip if you want to get a lot of runs in. Don't record a video while you do it. But if you want to learn to make great videos, go to StalmanPodcast.com. That's where I have other YouTubers on. We talk about cinematography, filmmaking, photography, everything that you hopefully want to know more about. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you over there.